Have you ever had your whole week ruined by a single text message? You've just finished donning your in-character cosplay, you've practiced your voice in the mirror,
You don't belong in this
the
world.
2-page backstory for your starting weapon.
Hey guys, we're gonna have to cancel tonight's game.
You take it pretty well, all things considered. The good news is you can still play D&D or any other TTRPG tonight. The bad news is you have to do it online. This video is sponsored by StartPlaying, and that makes it one of the toughest videos I've had to make. For me, and about 76% of the 500 or so people who answered my poll, online D&D is rough. You all mentioned challenges like maintaining focus on the game. Dungeon Masters talked about how hard it was to keep all the players engaged. Players and GMs alike said that the mental energy meter just seems to drain a lot faster in online games. I have my own tragic backstory when it comes to online TTRPGs. I was completely blindsided by things that I had never heard anyone talk about, and so I'm gonna talk about them. Back in 2020, the year all our social interaction immediately and involuntarily went online because of the thing that happened. You know, the thing that had every company opening their marketing press releases saying shit like, "In these trying times, we understand it's more important than ever to stay connected. Chipotle Tony Hawk Burrito." I ran a West Marches game for 70 people, 40 hours a week. In my defense, it didn't start that way. I didn't realize it was getting that way until it was too late. And by the time I called it quits, I wasn't just soured on online games. I wanted to put down tabletop role-playing games for good. Spoilers, I didn't. I learned a ton about running the game, especially about running West Marches, and a lot of it was really great. If you want to hear more about that, like the video or comment about it. I don't know what you people want, I'm still winging it, but I burned out hard. The boundary between my life and the internet, which had been slowly eroding since the first time a computer yelled, "You've got mail!" through the worst PC speakers known to man, suddenly dissolved entirely, and nothing was making me happy anymore. I was on some ask your doctor about Zoloft today type shit. ADHD means that if I don't care about something, if I can't get invested in it, I'd rather walk barefoot through a hallway of D4s and Legos than engage with that thing. It's physically painful. That's why you're never gonna hear me rattle off soulless ad copy from some of the shit in my email inbox, like or probably gonna bleep out those names. Sorry, StartPlaying, not trying to declare war on your behalf. Jesus. All that to say, after speaking with Devin over at StartPlaying, I wanted to check it out in good faith. I wanted to give it an honest try, instead of spewing vitriol from beneath this pile of cynical baggage I have around online D&D. All I know is that I cannot go back to the way that things were. I'm not trying to bum anybody out, this isn't a venting video, just know that I was in a pretty bad place, and I needed help to get out of that place. I do truly believe that the internet can be a force for good. I believe that the people on the internet are mostly rad and beautiful, and I believe that online tabletop can be amazing if we address a few of the problems that make me want to tape my eyes shut and listen to whale sounds for the rest of my life. If you're someone who, like me, can get a little bit carried away with the presentation aspect of IRL D&D, let me tell you, the opportunities for presentation in online D&D are actually endless. Do you want a live DJ music that layers in an instrument every turn until it all comes together to form the party's symphony of found family and teamwork? You can do that. Maybe you shouldn't. As dopamine rich as it can be to imagine custom everything, custom battle maps, custom tokens, theme songs, sound effects, crazy vocal filters that make you sound like f***ing Zordon. That is a one-way ticket to Burnoutville. Population U. Players aren't immune to this either, but it's especially risky for those who are running the game. My current metric is, if it takes more than 3 pieces of software, especially Adobe software, that's too much. I'm doing too much and I need to walk it back. Just like IRL D&D, the most important place that we can put our energy is active listening at the table, or virtual table, instead of just running what amounts to a video game with extra steps. And that does present some more obstacles around communication. Y'all know me, still the same ADHD, but I've been low key. Hello, welcome back to the video. You're looking at the only camera that can run in my house at this temperature without overheating. Am I pulling this hat off? Let me know in the comments. Staying engaged with conversation face to face is already enough of a challenge. And you're telling me I've got to do it on the same machine that gives me my Minecraft and my Japanese anime and real-time updates on every terrible thing ever happening in the world all at once? My buddies Allison and Matt over at the Pocket Dimensions ADHD 20 podcast. And if you're watching this Friday the 25th, 6th, there's an episode with me in it. Go check it out. Oh. That's what we got to do, folks. They've said that if someone's giving you advice and it starts with just, that advice probably isn't going to be super usable or helpful. So when somebody hits me with the just pay attention curse of the Nile, there is one tool that I use to stay engaged. It's the same one teachers yelled at me about in school. It's the same thing I had to break out whenever I spent those summers at the grandparents whose only TV was a dedicated Fox News misery checkpoint. Pencils. There's a quote that used to be on the Field Notes website. I don't know who it was originally attributed to. It's too hot to wear this like that. I'm not writing it down to remember it later. I'm writing it down to remember it now. Analog game prep and stationery are a huge reason why I enjoy tabletop role-playing at all. And you can't use pencils through the computer. I don't want to hear about Apple pencils. So even during online games, I've got a little notebook and pencil. I'm writing down important NPC names. I'm sketching magic items. And it seriously helps me stay tuned in and remember way more stuff. The studies continue to show that writing by hand and the sensory feedback involved are way more effective for recording information that you want to remember, even compared to typing or getting yelled at. Not to mention the sensory stimulation of writing. Don't laugh, Anna. Yep, there it is. Not to mention the sensory stimulation of writing or drawing what you're hearing can help even the most goblin-brained ADHD-addled gamers among us engage more with the discussion at hand. And you're creating an analog boundary between yourself and the game. You don't have to open a browser tab or unlock your phone later to invite in all the cyber demons if you just want to check your notes. And boundaries are pretty important. This one's kind of tough to talk about. It's definitely what wore away at me the most before my big bad burnout. If you open all of your time to people who, like you, care a lot about inhabiting the game world as vividly and completely as possible, they will expand to fill all of your time like a cloud of hyperfixation gas. It will never be enough. And this isn't inherently a bad thing. It's cool when people get interested in stuff. I'm never gonna be mad at people for thinking that something is awesome. It is one of the purest forces of existence. But hey, GMs, over here for a second. We gotta maintain firm boundaries around our time and well-being. Players, over here, come on. When our game masters say that they don't want to be messaged during a certain time or on certain platforms, we have to respect that. For me, using a scheduling software where we can put hard limits on availability for things like games, rules questions, character-focused side quests, sidebar conversations, is something I really wish I had done from the start. Before I even realized what was happening, I was answering Discord DMs at all hours, and on top of running 2 to 3 games a day, I was making rulings on the most banal, stupid downtime activities or other questions nonstop, instead of using my time and energy to rest or actually prep the next game. And eventually, my capacity to enjoy the game at all was ground down to nothing. And I'm not mad at any of the players. I'm not even really mad at myself. I've since learned how important it is to make your boundaries be known in no uncertain terms and to enforce them kindly, but completely. And also how important it is to pick a handful of days during the week where nobody outside of my actual house knows if I'm alive or dead. So, armed with pencil and paper, the decision not to over-prep or overbuild my character, and the knowledge that whatever one-shot I take part in is going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end with no further obligation from me, I took my first step back into the world of online tabletop in, I think, almost 2 years, and it was awesome. The game itself was a ton of fun. All in all, I've got some good and some bad to go over. We'll do good first. Finding a game was ridiculously easy. You can search by system to see open games that are looking for players, or you can search by GM to look for someone who runs a given system. It seems like that second option would be really good if you've already got a group ready to go. I looked for a one-shot happening that day, I found Colby's Blades in the Dark game. It was labeled as beginner friendly. I've never played Blades in the Dark before, but I'm familiar with Powered by the Apocalypse systems, and I know character creation tends to happen pretty quick at the table, so I went for it. And I didn't spend any extra time getting ready once I joined Colby's Discord server and reset my Roll20 password, because I don't remember that shit. I'm surprised mods didn't come out when I logged in. It ended up being me, another player named Isaac, and Colby running the game. We spent the first hour or so making our characters and our crew. I was a slide called Vicar. Isaac was a cutter called Clutch. And we decided our crew type was going to be Vigilante. At some point in the past, we became disenchanted with the demonic whaling industry, like you do, since many of our fellow dirt-poor whalers were maimed, cast aside, or killed with no ceremony in the perils of the job, while the rich got richer. I was the smooth-talking master of disguise, and Clutch was the muscle that got things done behind the scenes. We infiltrated the pleasure barge of one Loretta Breakiron, who owned a veritable fleet of whaling ships, some of which we had toiled away on not so long ago. Our goal was to take her out and send a message. And oh boy, that we did. It was pure chaos from start to finish. We only survived by sheer luck and many, many devil's bargains. Isaac and I clicked into the face and the muscle dynamic super quickly. We made a liberal use of flashbacks to regain the upper hand in really tense situations. After the game, I wanted to know more about the GM side of StartPlaying, and Colby was awesome enough to give me even more of his time to answer some of my questions. Alright, I gotta ask, how do you think our game yesterday went?
That was great. I mean, obviously you and Isaac both are really experienced, both are GMs. So both of you knew when I said, like, this is a game where you want to swing big. You both heard that and you're like, all right, here we go. So like, that was great. And I think what we ended up having is one of the smoother kind of one-shot introductions of Blades in the Dark that I've seen. You know, because it's such a different game, particularly for, again, people who have played mostly D&D, Pathfinder, really tactics-heavy games, it's a big adjustment. But both of you having that experience and being flexible with multiple systems, I think you dropped into it super easily, and we were able to get a really good and satisfying story out in relatively little time, especially when we went through the full character creation, full crew creation mechanics. You normally can't do that in a one-shot.
You heard it here first, folks. I'm a natural. I'm a genius. What can I say? Why did you start playing? Like, why did you start the paid DMing gig?
Yeah, I mean, I had been looking for ways to be a professional GM for years before I heard about StartPlaying. The answer that people gave 10 years ago or so was, why would anyone pay when there's so many people willing to do it for free? So honestly, when I saw that StartPlaying had launched, obviously I have to get in on this.
I get the sense that platforms like this are driven by players that really want the more reliable experience. I say this as someone who has witnessed many a game die before its time. Do you see any of that out in the wild?
Yeah, they want something reliable. They've done the local game store route, which is great, and I've had a lot of amazing experiences at local game stores, or running online through Roll20s, looking for games for them, which is really active, and you can always find a game. But if the players don't have a stake in it, they're more likely to show up to try and derail things, and that's how they want to get their fun, as opposed to the players who really want to craft a good story. And those kinds of people who are willing to put a stake in it, I have found, are typically the best players to have a good time with.
You mentioned to me earlier that this is more or less a full-time gig for you. Do you have any advice for people who want to do what you're doing?
Go and offer what you're excited about. If it's a niche game, there are probably people out there who are willing to play at an unusual time because somebody's actually offering. I've always found that where I put my passion typically is where I have the best experiences. You know, it's not 100% of the time that there will be players for something super niche, but more often than not, when I've put it out there, I've found people who are interested in it and had an amazing experience with it.
For the game that I found, why did you choose Blades in the Dark in particular when you were setting that one up?
I've taken part in a number of StartPlaying's events, you know, particularly the Evil Hat events that they have more often than partnerships with other publishers, and I love those partnerships. Those publishers are then mentioning StartPlaying through their mailing lists and bringing in more players who maybe bought a book, enjoyed it like I did with Blades in the Dark, years ago, then it's a hard sell for their friend group who has been playing D&D, but then you've got that one person who wants to branch out. That's always been me.
Something I didn't expect is how different the vibe is, in a really good way, when it's a paid game. Let me be clear, I am not saying we should start charging our friends for game night. That's insane. I'm also not here to argue for the very concept of paid TTRPG sessions. If that's the conversation you want to have, go hang out with some small business owners in your area who want to pay artists an exposure. I think Colby put it really well, that when there's a literal investment, people are going to take it more seriously. Now, does this weed out every single weirdo and ne'er-do-well? Certainly not. But it does place everyone in the group behind StartPlaying's code of conduct. And I feel like that has a little bit more weight than your average Discord server rules page. And it generally means everyone has shown up with the goal of having fun and supporting each other's fun without the social hurdles of assembling a casual group and the terror that you will somehow end up in an RPG Horror Stories green text. Now for my nitpicks. There's no night mode on the site. That might be fine for some of you. But I am a creature of the night. Play. And while there were a lot of games listed, some that I specifically looked for, like Fight with Spirit or Henshin, had no presence and no search category of their own. I wish there was a game request feature, like the clipboard on the wall at Hot Topic, where you can write, "I want more Death Note t-shirts." In that way, maybe high-demand games could be incentivized by the site so the GMs can learn them and host them. Everyone over there is probably giving this a lot more thought than me, and you do list your games that you like to run and play when you sign up for the site, so maybe there's something like that happening on the back end that I don't even know. Nitpicks over. There's something really wholesome to me about buying your forever GM a little spa day where they get to play that TTRPG they're always yapping about, but nobody wants to run for them. Or taking a group of my friends that don't really get to hang out a lot and getting to play together without the pressure of anyone having to run. Like, I'm imagining us all sitting in the same living room looking at Roll20 on TV or something, while the DM in a box runs the game for us. I'm definitely not going to be running paid games anytime soon, because 2 jobs and a YouTube channel means that whatever time I get to play games is probably just going to be hanging out with my friends till I hit 100k subscribers. Then I'm going to charge them too. That's not true. But I really respect the people who provide that service. Paying someone to run Lancer for me is definitely my birthday plan for next year. So StartPlaying gets a very many thumbs up from me. I had a wonderful time. I've got a link in the description that'll give you 10 bucks of free credit. You can take your 10 bucks and check out Colby's page. He's at startplaying.game/GM/hypnotoad, or just treat yourself to a one-shot in a game you've always wanted to play. Thank you, Devin, at StartPlaying, for reaching out and convincing me to give this a shot. Hats off to everything y'all are doing over there at StartPlaying. Thank you, Colby, for running an awesome intro to Blades in the Dark. Thank you, Isaac, for being the muscle to my mouth. Colby, I hope a ton of people check out your page. You're one hell of a game master. Show this video to your English teacher. Keep your pencils sharp, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye. We got Anna coming back from her Wednesday night ballet class.
Hello. Hello.
How was, look at the camera?
I don't even know where it is.
It's right there. It's the only one that's not overheating in the house right now.
You little bitty guy.
Little bitty guy. So bye-bye, YouTube.